In this video, we're gonna talk about spatulas. These are very useful tools, even if we will not use them directly for painting. At first, we're gonna talk about what types we can find on the market, discussing the materials and how to choose ours. And then, case by case, we're going to see what we will use them for. We actually have already used them before when we have seen how to prepare our palette. Before we start, we should say that some of the spatulas that we will use in this course just to do secondary jobs are actually used also for painting. In this case, they are going to call them painting knives or palette knives. We're not going to use them for painting, but the fact that some artists actually do it have pushed the production companies to develop a wide offer so we can find them in different shapes, size and materials. And this gives us the opportunity to choose the best tools for our needs. Different companies may use different materials. The most common materials for the handle is the wood, for example pine, maple, beech, and probably some other. There are also many companies that use plastic or rubber, and sometimes both. The stainless steel is the most common material used for the knife, although there is more than one type that different manufacturers use for their production. The 3 or 4 stainless steel seems to be the most used by the companies with the highest standard, and some of them also temperate. The most common external finishing for the stainless steel knife is the brushing, that gives to the blade this nice and stripped look. Some companies also treat them with an electroplated nickel finishing, while some other companies, to help the cleaning, use a no-stick coat. These are very resistant items that normally we buy just once in our lifetime. I've got some of mine more than 20 years ago and they are still very good. These spatulas are relatively not expensive, but if we're not sure and on the beginning we want to save some money, we can search for these plastic types that, even if they are not the best quality, we can still use for a while until we actually decide to make a step forward. It's time now to see what we will use them for and what types we are going to use. We have already seen that we're going to use them to prepare our palette. In this case, we will use the spatulas to move our paints from one area to another or from one palette to another. We will also use them to help us taking the right amount of color off from our tubes. For these jobs, we are going to use this type and we're going to need 2 of them. My suggestion is don't buy exactly the same type twice. Better we get 2 models, for example these 2. Because sometimes there are small jobs we want to use them for, and probably one of them is better than the other. When we finish painting and we want to clean our palette, we're going to use this flat type to collect up all the paints and take them away. In this case, our paints are still fresh and this spatula works perfectly. But it may happen that we let to sit our palette there for some time, and when we go to clean it, we may find out that our colors are already dry. In this case, we don't want to use this type of spatula anymore. Better to use one of these scraper or filling spatula. We have to consider that the thickness of these types of blades is around 0.3 mm, while in this case it goes from 0.6 to 1 mm depending on what type we use. These types of spatulas are definitely more resistant and indicated for this work on dry paints. Another job that we have seen use some spatula for is to make our own oil paints, starting from pigments and mediums. In this case we have used this type because it has a knife with a large surface that help us to press and work more mixture against the glass plate. There are many other small jobs that we may want to use some spatula for. My suggestion is to get at least one or two of them. And with this last suggestion, we have concluded our introduction on spatulas. If you enjoyed this video, we will really appreciate if you could click on like and subscribe to our channel. It will also help us very much if you could leave a comment. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.